What's up guys, Stacy here from Becoming Financially Fit, and today we're going to be talking about a super interesting topic. You may have seen that a couple months ago I put out a video and it was specifically about your 401k, and more importantly it was about taking out a 401k loan from your account, your retirement account, to pay off debts like credit card debt or other outstanding debts that you guys had. And that video was actually pretty popular, and a lot of people had questions now because during times of the pandemic the government has come out with new standards on taking money out of your 401k. So what we're going to do is today we're going to go over what the previous standards were for taking money out of your 401k in the form of either a 401k loan or a hardship withdrawal. And then we're also going to talk about what the terms are now as far as taking money out of your 401k to pay off things that may have arose because of the pandemic that's going on. So without further ado, this is Becoming Financially Fit. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget to like this video if you got some value out of it. So let's get directly into the content. So previously, for every 401k loan that was out there, what happened was you were able to take a loan up to 50% of your current balance or up to the lesser of $50,000. So for example, if you had $30,000 in your 401k account, you could take up to 15% of that balance out in the form of a loan and pay it back if you needed to. Now things are changing. With the new laws that were enacted, I want to say as of March 27th of 2020, now you can take the lesser of 100% of your balance or $100,000, the lesser of those two values. So now this is pretty much saying the average, 401k balances for a lot of Americans is under $100,000. So now they're saying you can essentially take out all of the money from your 401k in the form of a loan, and they've added some perks that make it so you don't have to pay it back. So let's get into some of those perks of taking out money from your 401k in the form of a loan. So one of the huge benefits of this new standard from the government that they set out for 401k loans was the fact that now, if you were to take out a loan today from your 401k vested balance, you wouldn't start having to make payments on that loan until January. So up until December 31st, you can actually decide if you want to take out that loan or not with these new standards. And if you do, let's say you take it sooner rather than later, you wouldn't have to pay any payments on that loan, which is going to be amazing for some people who may have gotten furloughed because of the pandemic, or may have lost a job, or maybe just lost some hours or some business because maybe they were running a small business or a side hustle, but now they're not getting as much traction because pretty much everybody in America is on a stay-at-home order. So this is one of the great things. If you actually needed some extra cash and you didn't want to actually start paying it back for a long period of time, maybe 6 or 7 months, if you do something like that now, then you could defer your payments all the way up until January of 2021. And this is also something I should mention. If you currently already have an outstanding 401k loan, what you can do is you can request those payments to be deferred up until January of 2021. So let's say you looked at one of my first videos and you said, hey, this might be a good idea for me. Now, because of the whole situation, even if you're okay with making those payments, you can defer them out 6 or 7 months until next year. So I would say if that's you and you already have a 401k loan outstanding, maybe take a look at your plan. They may have sent you some information about, looking at deferring those payments. So definitely, I would say if that's you and you're in that situation and that would help you out, take a look at that, and maybe that might be a good option for you. So now let's talk a little bit about hardship withdrawals. It's a little different from a loan because you're actually taking money out of your vested balance from your 401k. And you really don't have to pay that back. Things have changed as far as what's better for each situation, but we'll just kind of talk about hardship loans, and then at the end of the video I'll kind of give the pros and cons to each, and I'll let you guys decide what will make a better option for you in your current situation. So a hardship withdrawal is pretty much saying that you went through some type of hardship, and now because of the new law, the CARES Act that just passed, the pandemic, the coronavirus, if you've been affected by that in some ways, and I'll kind of lay out those ways that you can be affected by the coronavirus. Let's say you're quarantined, you're furloughed, you missed hours from work. All of those things make you affected by the whole entire pandemic. So if that was you, then you qualify for what you call a hardship withdrawal from your vested balance in your 401k account. And what that means is that you have a certain balance and you're able to take money out of it, but in the past, not only would you have to pay immediate taxes on that at your current tax rate, but you would also be forced to pay a 10% penalty on that amount that you took out. And that's why a lot of people really didn't like to take hardship withdrawals unless they really needed it, because not only would they be taxed on that money, but they would also pay a 10% penalty, which wasn't good. Now with the new changes to the CARES Act and the laws surrounding those 401k withdrawals, there's no more 10% penalty. So now when you take your money out, and also depending on your plan, you may not even have to pay your taxes up front. You can select a portion of what you want to pay for those taxes, depending on your tax rate. I would say definitely make sure you guys look into that. But now you don't have to pay that 10% penalty. So it makes it more advantageous to take some money out. But I would always say any single dollar that you take out of your 401k, it's not going to be working for you towards your retirement goals. So with all of those things in mind, make sure you guys kind of weigh the pros and cons. But now that we have kind of an outlay of 401k loan, you don't have to pay it until January 2021, or a withdrawal up to your vested balance, or $100,000. Let's kind of look at the pros and cons of each situation. So maybe I can kind of go through one or two of your guys' financial situations, and maybe something matches up with you, and maybe I can give some help. So what I'll do is I'll go through the pros and cons, and we can kind of go down the list to see what would be better in your personal situation. So first things first, let's take a look at your 401k loan that you would take out from your plan. So I would say some of the pros of this would be the fact that you really don't have to pay that money back until almost a year out. It would be next January. It could be longer depending on your plan. Like I said, check that out. But I know from the government, they're mandating that it has to be at least January of 2021. So that's one huge pro. If you're looking to take money out without making any payments, that's a good. But you would need to know that you still have to pay that money back. And the thing about a 401k loan, since it's connected to your employer, that money is going to start coming out of your paycheck. Whether you receive a paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, or every month, it's going to come directly out of that balance. So if you decide to take a 401k loan out, just make sure that you're actually going to be ready for that reduced paycheck on a bi-monthly or a monthly basis, because they're going to take that out automatically, and there's really nothing you can do about it. When you sign the loan agreement, they're going to say, okay, here's going to be your minimum payment. You're going to have to pay it for X amount of months, and then after that, you're going to be good to go. But sometimes what people don't think about is the fact that, hey, this money is going to be good for now, but you're going to have to pay it for sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years. And it all depends, like I said, on your plan. So just make sure you have that aware that even though you're going to be able to defer some of these payments out 6, 7, 8 months at a time, you are going to have to pay these back. And if you were to leave your job or get fired before that time period of paying back that loan, you're either going to have to do one of two things. Either pay that loan back immediately, or it's going to be charged as income in the year that you are fired, and that money is going to be taxable in that particular year. So those are just things to keep in mind. But now let's go over to the hardship withdrawals. I would say that some of the pros of a hardship withdrawal is the fact that you can take out a large chunk of money, no questions asked, and that money can be used for just about anything. Now, because of the whole situation, when you pull the money out, it can be used for anything. Previously, you would have to have some type of qualified excuse, like either purchasing a home, medical expenses, going through a bankruptcy. But now they only ask, have you been affected by the COVID pandemic? If that answer is a yes, you can prove it. Let's say you've been quarantined for 2 weeks, or you've had to stay home, or you lost hours in your job. Those are all qualifiers. So all you have to do is give that information to your employer's plan sponsor, and you're good to go. You can take that money out. Like I said, it's going to be the lesser of either $100,000 or your vested balance. You can take it out, and it probably will get into your account within the next week or so. So a lot of people like the fact that, hey, all I have to do is fill out this form, get the money, and I can have it in my account in maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks max, and they have access to all that money. Some of the cons, like I said, would be now that money is not going to be working for you in the stock market. As you've seen, the stock market pretty much went through a crash, I would say, in my opinion. Some stocks were down 30, 40, 50, some even 60%. And now I would personally, what I would do is I would start to look at some of those companies and I would say, those might be good stocks to invest in. So if you're thinking about taking money out of the stock market right now, if those stocks do go up, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40%, back to normals or even less than normals, then you're gonna be missing out on that upside that a lot of people would gain if the market or if their money was still working inside of that market. Another thing I would say is that if you're actually taking money out, and I said this in my previous video, it would be a good idea to look at your holistic personal financial picture to see what you're actually going to use that money for, because money taking out from your 401k without a plan is going to be no good to you. So do you have any debts? What are your expenses on a month-to-month basis? Do you have any type of budget set up or an emergency fund for things like this? Because I would definitely say if you have an emergency fund set up, you should look to that first and not look at your 401k at all. This should be one of the last options in your toolbox. Like I said, budget, emergency fund, then 401k if that's your last option. I will say that there is one thing that maybe a lot of people don't know or may have not have seen in the bill, but there's an option for that hardship withdrawal. And this is a huge piece of information. There's an option within that hardship withdrawal to actually pay that hardship back. Usually you can never do this back with the hardship withdrawal. As soon as you take the money out, it's gone. But due to the CARES Act, with this hardship withdrawal, you do have the option to pay this money back into your 401k over the course of 3 years. So let's say, hey, I need a large sum of money and I need it now to do certain things, whether that be take care of my family, invest, start an emergency fund, start a business. All of those things can be used with those funds, right? But instead of just taking the money out and not being able to let it work for you, you could take that money out and pay it back periodically over the course of 3 years. It could be some, it could be all, or it could be a small portion, right? But you do have the option to pay it back when you take that hardship withdrawal. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that, because that's a huge piece of information that you could use for your benefit. Let's say if you did want to take a hardship withdrawal and you kind of wanted to spread out those payments, let's say every 6 months or every year, or maybe even at the end of that 3 years, you just want to pay all the money back that you got, you can do that. And that's an option due to the CARES Act passing and changing some of the information about the hardship withdrawals for your 401k. Just wrapping up, I want to make sure you guys have all the information that you need when you're making one of these decisions about taking money out of your 401k to do other things with it, like pay down debt or invest or start a business or buy any type of real estate property. So if you guys have any questions about the new laws and the requirements that go with the new laws, drop a comment below. I'm literally here to answer any questions you guys have. Like I said, I read through some of the information from the bill, and I also read through the docs from my plan, and it just kind of goes through and it tells you step by step every single thing in terms of either a 401k loan and the deferrals or a hardship withdrawal and the payback if you needed to. So if you guys have any questions, drop a comment below. And if you guys like the content that I'm putting out, make sure you give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated anytime I post new content. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start to put out some more videos about investing in defensive stocks, which are great during these times of, like, I would say, a recession, or just looking at some alternatives for the stock market as a whole, or some of these other options you guys have out here for personal finance, financial literacy, savings, or investing. So if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys soon.